This a way of life.
This episode of Race Life shares the story of my start in NHRA comp eliminator racing. You'll get an all-access look at me making my first license runs in the dragster I'm driving, and you'll get a breakdown of how this opportunity came to be. My hope is that some of you watching this episode will be encouraged by how I got to this next step in my racing journey. See, my background is in NHRA stock eliminator racing, but everyone that knows me knows that my goal is to race 300 mile per hour top fuel dragsters. So going from 130 miles per hour in stock to 190 in this car is a huge step in the right direction for me. With all that said, this story starts with me leaving my home in Houston, Texas to go to Dallas, where I'll pick up some safety gear, then start my license runs at the Texas Motorplex. So we're like 6-7 minutes away from Summit Racing Equipment in Arlington. Taking a quick pit stop, Chipotle. Three items in there.
You're okay.
So the reason I'm back here at Summit Racing Equipment is because I originally got a Hans order, this one here, and it just did not feel comfortable. Then I got a Hans hybrid, which is in the box there, and that one did not fit either. It was a medium, and it was just flat out too big. So now I'm going to return both of those, get a small in the Hans hybrid. That should fit me perfect. And after that, head to the Motorplex and get started getting fitted for the car. Let's go racing, boys and girls. Okay, so 3 tries later, I finally got a Hans device that fits. Now we're gonna head to the track and let's go comp eliminator racing. Let's do it. At this point in the story, I'd like to explain how I got the chance to drive this car. In the summer of 2018, I was at a point in my racing career where I felt I needed some upward movement to stay on track to top fuel. So I started to think through who I could rent a super comp dragster from. That's the most cost-effective dragster on tour, and I felt I needed to be back in a dragster to stay on track. Now mind you, I'm still a college student with college student money, so renting a dragster of any type was going to be a stretch for me. Now while I was figuring all this out, I saw a post on Facebook about a gentleman looking for a driver for his comp dragster. Now comp is a big step up from super comp, especially in terms of cost. So when I saw the post, I scrolled through the comments and I saw that there was already quite a few people who raised their hand to drive the car. Despite that, I decided there was no downside to me at least reaching out to John. So I took my time, wrote up an email, made a marketing deck, and sent it off. Now days went by without me hearing from John, so I just did what I knew to do, which is keep working. I kept working 7 days a week to try to save some money for a super comp car. But as I kept working, I never stopped believing that somehow, some way, I was going to get to where I wanted to be. Now, a month after I sent an email to John, I got a reply. And just a few weeks after that, I was in his car filming this episode.
Once it cranks up, just turn the pump on. Let it run and it circulates the fuel. See, like, just like your power, push on, pull off.
Got it.
shuts it off. Goes 577, target 4.
What was that like? Well, even though I stopped fairly early, that first run was still extremely relieving. You know, when I left for the first time, I got past the unknown of what that car felt like. And after I made the run, I had a confidence that I could handle the car. Now, as far as physically driving the car, I felt like the car was sliding around a little bit too much for comfort, so I let the run go. Now, on the next lap, I knew I had to be mentally ahead of the car to get it down the track. So the next run, I tried to do just that.
You pull and shoot this time?
Right.
You know everything to do?
Yeah.
Check, G.
On the second run, I was a bit more confident, you know. As the car left, things were still happening at a rate that was faster than normal for me. But about 200 feet into the run, things kind of started to slow down. And as that happened, I tried to guide the car back toward the center of the groove because the wind was pushing pretty hard that day. And at the Texas Motorplex, the wind is tricky because we've got these huge grandstands on the side of the track that blocks the wind up to about half track. And once you pass the halfway mark, the wind hits you, and when it hits you and pushes you whichever way the wind is blowing. So as I got past half track, the wind pushed me toward the left, so I got out of the throttle to get back into the center of the lane. And I really wanted to make a clean run that time around. We still went 720s, but on the last lap of the night, I was determined to get the car all the way down the track without lifting.
Have fun out there. Be careful.
that last run, I really pushed hard to get through the wind. But as you could see in the video, the car was kind of skating around about 300 feet into the run. So I had to let off a couple times. I mean, it was still a decent license run. We went 7-11, and our data shows actually that the car was spinning the tires all the way down the track. So that last run was pretty much like skating on ice at 180 miles per hour. But in the moment, it was still frustrating because I didn't know if I had drove well, and I didn't know that because I had no good run to reference to. But a few weeks later, I'd have the opportunity to make my first full clean run at my first race out in Kansas. And I've got to thank my car owner, John Green, for that. I mean, the opportunity to race out there in Kansas, in Oklahoma City in 2018, those were huge confidence boosters for me going into 2019. That said, that's a wrap on this episode of Race Life. And I want this episode to be an example of what can happen when you see out every opportunity to reach your goals and you don't give up on your goals. So keep working, stay in faith, and don't give up.